evening, everyone. Hello, welcome to the FA Cup live. The third round draw taking place in about 10 minutes' time. We're going to be doing some build-up to the third round very, very shortly indeed. Only a few minutes away. Do tell us in the chat who you're supporting in the FA Cup. Of course, 64 teams battling it out in the next round. It's going to get very hectic when it comes to the draw. It kicks off at 7:10. We're going to do our build-up in a few moments with the boys at 7 o'clock. Not long to go, as I said. Tell us who you're supporting in the chat. Come on, the mighty Millers. Up the Rotherham United. So once again, hello everybody. Welcome along to your live watch-along / live reaction of tonight's FA Cup draw. That is right. We're here at the third round. The biggest stage of the competition so far. There are 64 clubs participating in the third round of this tournament, and it's going to be an absolutely fascinating third round draw, which will be kicking off in just under 10 minutes time. We're going to be bringing the boys in just a moment to talk all things FA Cup in a few moments. But as you can see on the screen, the teams are scrolling by. Let me get myself up on the screen for a moment here. Give me 2 seconds. Let me click off that. Bang, there we go. How are we all doing? Welcome along to tonight's FA Cup third round draw live. This is an incredible experience, of course. For those of you that live in England, you will know that the FA Cup is the most prestigious competition in English football, behind the Papa John's Trophy, of course. If you're in that competition, then it's a silly crap one, isn't it? Only joking. But the FA Cup tonight, it's a big draw, as I said. It's a massive, massive opportunity. 64 sides participating in the tournament. From this stage, we have some incredible teams left in this competition, some incredible results across the board that we've seen over the weekend of action. And more importantly, we have, you know, us lot in the building. We've got our clubs a part of this competition. It's going to be very interesting indeed tonight to see who faces who in the competition. So without further ado, I'm going to bring the boys into the stream in a moment. We're going to talk all things FA Cup related. And without further ado, let me just see if we can get the boys in. Hopefully they're ready. And well, looking forward to it indeed. Give them 2 seconds. So as I said, on the bottom of the screen right now, you can see a couple of the numbers going by. Do tell us in the chat who you're supporting in the FA Cup very quickly before I bring them in. Chris has said, hi lads, hope you're well. Welcome in, Chris. Number 61 could have been Carlisle. Shame indeed. Ravens, how are you doing? He says, what's your team? My team is Rotherham United. Peter Raymond, Jordan and Andre want to know, how are you lads doing? We're doing bloody fantastic. Thank you very much, Peter. Thanks for joining us as always. And Carl says, hey all, would love Manchester United to get Liverpool to show we can beat the best. Fingers crossed we want a few good fixtures across the board. So without further ado, let's get into the call. Let's see what these guys are going to be doing. And without further ado, We'll get into the draw in a few moments' time. I'm hoping I've picked the right time to join you. How are we doing, boys?
All good.
Great.
All good indeed. Fantastic to hear. We're looking forward to the draw in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Good.
Not really.
Well,
No.
for those of you that kind of want to know, you'll be able to see on the screen in a moment's time. There's a few of us that are still in with a shout of potentially going through to the further stages of this competition. And some of us that are unfortunately out, so as you can see on your screen in just a moment's time. Bang, there we go. Let me take my camera off the screen. I'm floating right now. Ooh. I am still in the draw with Rotherham United. Technically not me, I'm not the manager. Ball number 33 for Rotherham United. We've got Kieran D, as always, the Manchester United fan. He is going to be obviously looking out to make sure tonight with ball number 24 to find out who Man United face. Of course, would you take a draw? Carl said a moment ago he'd like Liverpool to face Man U. Would you take that, Kieran?
No.
That was a very quick no, and I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot of Man United fans saying the same as well. Rowan is supporting Oldham Athletic, which is ball number 64. That is the last ball on the table tonight. And then Will, who's joined us as well, he is a Sheffield Wednesday fan, and he is ball number 35. Will, Sheffield Wednesday fan, of course. You've got a new manager, Tony Pulis, be his first FA Cup game in charge of the club. Who would you be looking to take in the third round?
Well, firstly, I'm a Liverpool fan, but I do also like Sheffield Wednesday because it's my dad's team. But I think I actually want to see Wednesday versus Liverpool. That's what I'd like to see.
With a perfect draw indeed for yourself, Will. And Rowan, of course, Oldham Athletic fan as well. Big opportunity for you guys. Did very well to get through against Bradford at the weekend. Who are you looking to face in the next round?
We're talking about for either another League Two side non-league or a big Premier League side. I don't want a middle of the table Premier League side. If you can get your top 6, even top 8, I'd take it.
For sure,
but if
indeed.
not, you don't give us any Premier League or Championship or League One.
Yeah, certainly. I think for a lot of these smaller clubs, you're looking to get through to the next round of competition, or you want to get one of those big Premier League sides. Indeed, we're going to go over in a second some of the important balls in this competition. Some big results over the weekend, as I said before. For those of you that don't know how the draw works, it's not like the Champions League or the Europa League. It is a case of all 64 teams can face off against each other. There's none of this kind of southwest divide, or in the Champions League teams can't face each other. It's flat out 64 teams, they all can get picked off against each other. There's one game still to go on tonight. That is between Canvey Island and Boreham Wood, so there will be one team that could have the potential chance of facing two sides, but of course we'll know by the end of the night who is going through to the next round. The draw should take place in about 10 minutes time, and as I said in the comments as always, do tell us who you would like to face in this round of the FA Cup. And as always, if you're looking for live watch-alongs and live draw reactions, this is the place to be. We're going to do FA Cup draw reactions. We've got the Champions League round of 16 draw to do very soon in a few weeks, and the Europa League. So do leave a like, subscription as always, whether you're new or watching this on the replay. But without further ado, I'm going to take my camera off the screen. Let's have a look at some of the important ball numbers tonight in the FA Cup. So your Premier League sides, you have your top 6 there. Arsenal are ball number 2. Chelsea are ball number 12. Liverpool, ball number 21. Manchester City, ball number 23. Spurs, ball number 39. Everton, ball 16. Wolves, ball number 43. Leeds United, of course, coming up this season, ball number 19. And Leicester, ball number 20. Of course, Will, you're a Liverpool fan. Over the last couple of years, when it's come to these types of competitions, it's been taken less seriously, weak sides and things like that. Do you think this should be an opportunity for Liverpool, depending on tonight's draw, to maybe go on an FA Cup run?
I'd like to see it because since Klopp's been in charge, it's the one competition that we've never really managed to advance far in, never really took it seriously, playing the young kids. So I'd like to see us make a run, but I just don't think Klopp is going to change his mentality right now, especially with the amount of games that they've got to play and the amount of injuries Liverpool have. If they're going to, I think they'll still rotate the squad and play the youngsters. But if we get into it later in the tournament, maybe like round 5 or 6, then you got to question Klopp, should he start taking it more seriously, because it's a trophy at the end of the day.
Absolutely, it's certainly a big prestigious competition for some of those smaller sides. Looking at the kind of the teams I've picked out there: Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, Spurs, Everton, Wolves, Leeds, Leicester. It might not even even be one of these sides, and it's a question for all of you. Which Premier League side do you feel has to try and go and win this competition, or at least try and push for it? Because I think there's certainly a few sides in the Premier League that you'd look at and think, maybe they're not going to win the Premier League, and of course they're already at the Carabao Cup. This could be a perfect opportunity for them to kind of go far. And I'll start off with Kiri D, who do you think should, in the Premier League, try and push for the FA Cup?
I think either Tottenham or Arsenal. I think Tottenham in terms of just finally getting a trophy under the belt after quite a while, and Arsenal because, I mean, if they keep going the way they are, it's probably going to be the best shot at getting to Europe again.
Certainly, indeed, two clubs that desperately, well, not desperately, but they definitely would love to try and win this competition. Of course, we haven't seen Spurs win it, Arsenal win it a few times before, having a few problems right now in the Premier League. I'm going to move on to Kieran L. Who do you think in the Premier League should go for the FA Cup?
I think I'm going to go with the likes of Everton, someone that's kind of in and around the top area, but they're not really challenging for anything meaningful. They haven't got Europe this year, so that's not a distraction for the likes it will be for Leicester, etc. So I think Everton to get, improvements in the league and a piece of silverware, and that'd be a good first full year for Ancelotti.
Certainly would be indeed. Fantastic start to this season for them. Slightly died off a little bit, but maybe an FA Cup run could do them some good. I'm going to ask Roman next. Who do you think should, in the Premier League, try and fight for the FA Cup?
Similar to I'm going to go with Villa. I think Villa have had a really good start to the season. Bit of a surprising one considering where they are last year, but you're not going to be fighting for that Europa League spot. So, and as it stands, you're not going to be fighting for the relegation. Why not? So I'm going to go for like the teams like even a West Ham. I'm going to go for Newcastle as well. Like teams that are in that mid-table that are not worried about relegation, but they're not worried about pushing for Europa.
Absolutely. Well, we've seen Newcastle go on a good Carabao Cup run so far, and of course, be interesting to see whether they can go on a pretty decent FA Cup run as well. We know that Villa a few years ago, they made it into the final before getting pretty much dismantled, so be interested to see how Dean Smith can do at Aston Villa in the FA Cup. And Will, finally, which team do you think should go on a cup run in the FA Cup, excluding Liverpool?
Well, I know KD said Spurs. I probably agree with him just because they've had a great start in the league, but can they continue to do that and fight for the title? I think they need to get a trophy. They've not won one since I think it's 2007 with the League Cup. So I think Mourinho getting his first trophy as a Tottenham manager, I think the FA Cup's a great opportunity to do that.
Certainly would be indeed. So they are the Premier League clubs in tonight's draw. If you're wondering when the draw starts, it should be in around 5 minutes' time. Should be a good draw indeed. Of course, do tell us in the chat the dream draw that you want from this FA Cup third round. Very quickly look at the comments, see what you guys have been saying. Cal saying if United play like they have in the Champions League and the comeback win against Southampton, United can win the FA Cup. And then Chris has put brilliant joke. I'm laughing right now, as you can tell. Of course, Chris would like to see a Liverpool run as well. In the FA Cup. Says just hope to God Liverpool don't get Everton. They always get them in the third round, which is very true indeed. Let's have a look at a few of those Championship sides. Of course, the Championship teams as well come into this round of the FA Cup. You can see Bournemouth, ball number 1, of course, relegated last season. Brentford, who very nearly got promoted in that final game against Fulham, they're ball number 7. Nottingham Forest struggling right now in the league. They're ball number 29. Norwich ball 28. Reading ball 32, Stoke ball number 37, Swansea ball 38, and Watford ball number 40. Now, usually every season we get kind of 1 or 2 Championship clubs that get to the latter stages of the competition. Who do you think could be a potentially shock Championship side to get through to the latter stages of this competition? Whoever says it first, fire away.
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth, interesting shout. Jason Tyndall. Brentford under Thomas Frank. That's an interesting shout. Rowan, have you got potentially a Championship side? Watford, of course, having a pretty decent run in the Championship so far. And Will, Championship team to do well?
Go with Norwich.
Norwich, of course, under Daniel Farke. It'll be interesting to see how those relegated Premier League sides from last season do in this competition. And I think as well, potentially could see maybe Reading go on a run. Michael O'Neill's doing quite well at Stoke, indeed. So there's some of the bigger clubs in the Championship that we've picked out. Then in League One, there's been a lot of teams that have been knocked out of the competition already in League One. Portsmouth, ball number 51. Plymouth Argyle, ball number 50. And, well, originally it would have been a fantastic trip. Blackpool, ball number 46. If you're a away fan, that would have been a great trip to Blackpool, but I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. And then League Two, you've got Newport County, the leaders of League Two, ball number 57. Cheltenham, ball number 52. And Exeter City, ball number 59. Now, we should be getting underway with the draw shortly. Here's a quick look at some of those non-league sides. There's 4 non-league teams, technically 5 right now left in this competition. Stockport County, ball number 49, incredible win for them. Chorley, ball number 53. I think the biggest team of them all to get through, Marine. It's the second time in FA Cup history that a side from the 8th tier or below has made it to the third round of the FA Cup, which is incredible indeed. And then tonight's game, which is afterwards, is Canvey Island or Boreham Wood. which is ball number 60. So 4 non-league teams left. It's going to be a bit of a gamble here, lads. Do you think any of those teams could make it through to the 4th round?
The thing is, I don't think you can sort of rule it out. You can obviously we're going to say, oh, you'd rather have a Canby Island or a Marine in your draw, but we've seen before where they've knocked out, like just got surprising wins and ended up there. So I don't think you can rule out. I think one will go through.
I think the best chance they've got of going through is to draw each other.
I'm going to say that.
They could do. Depends. Anyone can beat anyone on the day, and I think that always goes back to the whole magic of the FA Cup kind of thing. But you kind of need the draw to fall in your favour. But who'd have had Charlie to beat Peterborough at their own ground?
Exactly, it's very true indeed. The draw is about to get underway. Without further ado, do give me an update here. The last time I did the draw, there wasn't really a slight mishap, but tell me if the screen updates every time teams come out. So the ball's been put in. Robbie Savage doing the draw today in the FA Cup. Tell us in the chat what the dream fixture you would like, and without further ado, we're going to get underway with the draw. Do tell me if it updates. The first team out of the pot in today's FA Cup draw is going to be Huddersfield Town. So that's the first team out here. And Huddersfield Town of the Championship, with a new manager, they are going to face ball number 50, which is going to be Plymouth Argyle. So that's a very good draw indeed for both sides. Plymouth Argyle doing very well in the league so far. Tell me if this updates on the screen now. Hopefully it should have updated. So the next team out of the draw is going to be Southampton. That's the first Premier League side out of today's draw. I just checked, it has updated, which is fantastic to see. And they're going to play off against ball number 55, which is Shrewsbury Town. So Shrewsbury Town facing off against in-form Premier League side Southampton. Next draw, this is game number 3, number 53. That is Chorley, one of the non-league sides left in this competition. Very best of luck to any Chorley fans here, because this would be a fantastic draw indeed if you come up against one of the Premier League sides. They're going to come up against ball number, he's taking his time here, ball number 15, and Chorley will face off against Derby County. So, as Sky love to say, that's Wayne Rooney's Derby County that they're facing off against. Hopefully, that should have updated on your screen. My apologies for not updating it a second ago. Ball number 58 is the next ball out. That is going to be Marine, another one of the non-league sides. Incredible run for them in the FA Cup so far. And they... Well, I've just realised, while Robbie Savage takes his time, we were only 1 ball away from Chorley versus Marine, which would have been a fantastic match indeed. But either way, Marine is going to face off against ball number 39, Tottenham Hotspur. Wow. What a dream draw for Marine. Marine versus Tottenham Hotspur. Brilliant start to this FA Cup draw indeed. Let's move on to Team 9 and Team 10. Ball number 43 out next in the draw. That is going to be Wolves. Big draw this one at the Molineux in the FA Cup 3rd round. They tend to usually get Liverpool every once in a while. And this time, they will face, in the 3rd round, ball number 14. That is going to be Crystal Palace, an all-Premier League tie. Certainly an interesting one.
That's good. That's good for the lower league sides. 2 Premier League sides facing each other.
Definitely is indeed. Ball number 49, Stockport County. All of the non-league sides so far with a home draw. Interesting. Stockport County, can they get what Marine did a moment ago and get Tottenham? The answer is they will face off against ball number 42, which is West Ham. That's certainly an interesting draw for Stockport County there. So we'll come back to that in a little moment. Let's move on to the next 6 teams coming out in the draw. So the next team out is Oldham Athletic. They've got a home tie. And Oldham will face off against number 1, Bournemouth. What do you think, Rowan, about
that? Not good.
Interesting tie there for Oldham.
Yeah, it's a positive.
So number 24, Manchester United, is the next team out of the draw. Old Trafford fixture here. And they will face off against ball number 40, which is going to be Manchester United against Watford. That's an interesting tie there. What do you think, Kieran?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Good draw indeed. Ball number 45 out next in this draw. The home team is going to be Stevenage, of course, unfortunately. Sorry to say this, Kieran, knocking out Hull City at the weekend in the FA Cup. They will come up against ball number 38. Stevenage are up against Swansea.
Oh, I'm not too fussed. That's just a net tie.
Yeah.
I would have been alright.
It's a pretty dead game. Everton next, out of the draw. Number 16. I've got a slight feeling here we're going to draw them to make up for that Carabao Cup tie we could have had.
Stop at Liverpool again.
Liverpool. Well, no pressure here. You don't see ball number 21. And the ball that is out here for Everton is number 33, which means they will be facing off against Rotherham United. Honestly, you couldn't write it. You couldn't write it. Literally 5 seconds ago, I said it was going to happen. Nottingham Forest next out of the draw. That is unbelievable. Buzzing with that. Nottingham Forest, they will be facing off against number 11, Cardiff City. That is a pretty dead tie, if I'm being honest with you. So let me save that one there. Next team out. So Forest v Cardiff. We're now moving on to number 2, Arsenal. They've got a home draw, of course, struggling right now in the Premier League. And they will be coming up against, in the third round, at home, number 27, which is going to be Newcastle. Arsenal v Newcastle. That's certainly going to be an interesting tie. Another all-Premier League fixture. Let's move on to the next 6 teams. So the next team out, ball number 4, Barnsley. Doing quite well in the Championship right now. Recently lost Stendhal, their manager. They'll face off against number 47, which is Barnsley against Tranmere Rovers. So Barnsley v Tranmere there. I think there'll be a few Barnsley fans happy with that draw. Next team, number 63. That will be Bristol Rovers. I mean, Bristol City here would be a perfect tie. Bristol Rovers, they will be coming up against number 34, which is going to be Bristol Rovers versus Sheffield United. United not having a very good FA Cup record away from home in the last couple of years. Remember them losing to Barnet a few years ago. Next team out is Canvey Island or Boreham Wood, which means all the teams that were from the lower divisions of football have got a home tie. And Boreham Wood or Canvey Island will be facing off against number 26, which is Millwall.
Oh,
I thought it was Man City for a second. Then.
Well, that is a very, very interesting tie. Canvey Island or Boreham Wood versus Millwall.
Man City they got. I think Pepper has still gone full strength.
Number 6,
Exactly.
Blackburn Rovers. They will be coming up against number 61. Blackburn Rovers will be facing off against Doncaster Rovers. It's the Battle of the Rovers. So Blackburn v Doncaster Rovers is your next tie in the FA Cup. Team 33 v Team 34. It's going to be ball number 37. And this will be Stoke City under Michael O'Neill, doing very well in the Championship so far. And they will be coming up against number 20, Leicester City, of course, currently facing off against Fulham in the Premier League. That's going to be a very interesting tie, Stoke v Leicester City. And then the final draw for this piece of the section, number 44, that's going to be Wickham, struggling right now in the Championship, although their record has improved from the beginning of the season. And they will be facing off against number 30, Preston North End. So an all-Championship tie there. We'll come back to that side of the draw in a little moment. We'll update you what's going on there. So the next team's out is going to be Crawley Town. Home tie for Crawley Town. And they will be facing off against, still a few decent sides in this, Chelsea, Liverpool and City left. And they're going to face off against number 19, which is going to be Leeds United. Really good tie there for Crawley Town. They'll be buzzing with that one. Home tie against Premier League Leeds United. Next team out of the pot, number 10. That's Burnley in the Premier League. They've got a home tie at Happy Place Turf Moor. And they will be facing off against, I've got a feeling it's going to be Sheffield Wednesday here. It's ball number 62. It won't be Sheffield Wednesday. Instead, it will be MK Dons. So Burnley v MK Dons there. That'll be a fairly eventful tie. Said no one ever. Number 9, Bristol City. They're out the draw next, of course. Got a new manager, Lee Johnson, sacked last season. Doing average in the Championship so far. They're going to face off against number 51, Bristol City, are up against Portsmouth of League One. That'll be a fairly interesting tie indeed. Next team out, number 31, that's Queen's Park Rangers. Were stunning last season, doing quite alright. Well, kind of struggling this year, to be fair, in the Championship. They'll be coming up against number 17, Fulham. As I said, currently underway in a match against Leicester City right now in the Premier League. Interesting tie there. A London fixture between QPR and Fulham. Next team out, ball number 3, Aston Villa. We said about them earlier. They need to try and do a little bit better in this competition. They will be coming up against, in this next round, apologies, it should have updated on your screens now. Number 21, Liverpool. Villa versus Liverpool.
We've got PTSD.
Certainly going to have PTSD.
Didn't Dominator make a joke about that to Chris Welch in the chat as well?
I think he did. I'm not going to lie, but that's going to be a good fixture. Villa v Liverpool. Repeat the 7-2 maybe. Next team out, Brentford. Good side in the Championship, of course, fighting for promotion once again. They're facing off against number 25, Middlesbrough. So it is an all-Championship affair between Brentford and Middlesbrough. We'll come back to those 6 fixtures in a second. Moving on to the next 6 fixtures. Ball number 23, Manchester City. They've got a home tie at the Etihad. Cheltenham and Morecambe are still in there, Newport. Chelsea still in there. And they will face off against ball number 5, Birmingham. Manchester City v Birmingham. Interesting clash that one will be. Manchester City with the home tie at the Etihad. Next team out, number 22. That is Luton Town. Managed by Nathan Jones. Doing fairly well so far in the league. And they'll be going up against ball number 32, Reading. So another all-Championship tie. Luton facing off against Reading in that draw. Should be an interesting game indeed. Next team out, ball number 12. It's Chelsea. They've got a home tie as well. Not really many big teams left in this. Wednesday, still in the draw. Could we maybe see that? Let's find out. Of course, they played off a few years ago in the FA Cup. And they'll play number 54. That is Morecambe. So Chelsea facing off against Morecambe in the next round of the FA Cup. Carlos put in the chat. You never know if Rotherham could beat Oldham. You never know indeed. Exeter City next out of the FA Cup. Well, not an out of the FA Cup, but out of the draw for the FA Cup third round. They'll face off against number 35, Sheffield Wednesday. Exeter City versus Sheffield Wednesday. What's your thoughts on that one, Will?
It's a game Wednesday should win if they're any good. But yeah, it's like you didn't draw one of the big sides, but you also didn't get another boring Championship tie. So I think wait, Exeter. Hopefully Wednesday can win and advance to the next round.
Be interesting indeed. Norwich City out of the draw, and they will face off against Coventry City. Those two sides faced off at the weekend. Coventry City with a 1-1 draw against Norwich. They'll be hoping they can do one better. Blackpool, there's a home tie for Blackpool. It's a shame fans can't go to this one because you'd be buzzing with a seaside trip, and the fans who would have been going are West Brom. Blackpool versus West Brom next out of the draw. So that is the next 6 teams. We'll come back to those in a little moment. And then we'll get to the last few draws here. Give me 2 seconds. The next team's out. Newport County doing very well in the league right now. Top of League 2. They've got a home tie in Wales. They'll be coming up against number 8 Brighton and Hove Albion struggling in the Premier League. Could we maybe see another shock Newport County win? Which means the final 2 teams, Cheltenham versus Mansfield, both in League 2. It's going to be Cheltenham with the home tie doing very well in League 2 right now, and they will be coming up against struggling Mansfield, also in League 2 as well. So that is the draw for the FA Cup third round. Without further ado, let's go through the draw once again and give you guys an update on who will be facing who in the FA Cup third round. So Huddersfield will be facing off against Plymouth Argyle. Southampton face Shrewsbury Town. Chorley have got a very good tie against Derby County. Could be Wayne Rooney in charge potentially. I think the tie of them all, though, in terms of the non-league sides, Marine will be facing off against Tottenham Hotspur. What a dream tie that is. Wolves facing off Crystal Palace in an all-Premier League tie. And Stockport County, another one of the non-league sides, facing off against West Ham. Oldham will be facing off against Inform, well, not technically Inform, but doing quite well in the Championship, Bournemouth. Manchester United, they are up against Watford. Stevenage will face off against Championship Swansea City. Everton will face off against the mighty Millers, Rotherham United. Nottingham Forest in an all-Championship tie against Cardiff City. And Arsenal will be facing off against Newcastle, another all-Premier League tie. Barnsley will face off against Tranmere. Bristol Rovers will face off against struggling Sheffield United in the Premier League. Canvey Island or Boreham Wood, which are facing off against each other in about 15 minutes' time. They have got the privilege of facing up against Millwall in the next round at home. That'll be a good tie for both of those sides. Blackburn will be facing off against Doncaster Rovers. Informed Stoke City, doing very well in the Championship, will face off against informed Leicester City of the Premier League. and Wickham will face off against Preston. Crawley Town, they've got a good fixture against Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds United. Burnley will go up against MK Dons. Bristol City will face Portsmouth, and an all-London affair between QPR and Fulham. We could have a repeat of 7-2 maybe. Even Chris has said it in the chat. Here come the 7-2 jokes. Well, I've brought you one out for you already. Villa facing off against Liverpool in the FA Cup. And Brentford will face Middlesbrough in an all-championship tie. Manchester City, they're at home against Birmingham. Luton Town in an all-championship affair against Reading. Chelsea against Morecambe. Exeter City will face off against Wednesday at home. An all-championship affair between Norwich and Coventry. And then Blackpool will face off against West Brom. And our final two fixtures, Newport County against Brighton, who are struggling in the Premier League. Newport doing very well. And an all-League Two affair as Cheltenham take on Mansfield. So, as you can see on the screen, boys, some incredible ties in there. I'm going to start off, by the way, first question. What's the best draw of them all? What do you think?
Marine v Tottenham.
Yeah, you can't look past that, can you?
No, that's just a dream. I wish fans were there. I really do. But
I don't think there's many standout ties in there in terms of the big teams, but yeah, massive for Marine, and yeah, big for Stockport as well.
Very big indeed. Of course, once again, all of those non-league sides getting a home draw, which is certainly good news for them as well. As I asked earlier, now we've kind of properly had a bit of time to sink in with what's happened. Rowan, Oldham coming up against Bournemouth. I said about it earlier. Oldham, they did well against Bradford City. Bournemouth is going to be interesting to play, but you've got the home advantage.
Yeah, it's the FA Cup, like we always say, so anything can happen. I think, you've got to be happy you don't get a Premier League side, but you've got Bournemouth, and I'm like, they've been playing well in the Championship. I think you'll take it. You will take it, because it's, I don't know, it's cross mind, because I think we can do a job in them, the way we've been playing in the Cup, FA and League, and the Papa John's. Ignore the Carabao, we don't care about that. We've actually been playing well, and recent form in the league as well, we've been playing well. But obviously, the games are not till January, are they? Unless they're being played earlier.
No, the games are in January, so there's still a fair whack of time to go.
There's still nearly a month and a bit. Anything we could go on an absolutely amazing run of form. Bournemouth could. More likely, our form could go down the drain, and Bournemouth can keep on going. So I can't be too disheartened, but I can't be too happy with it.
It's a very interesting draw indeed. Kieran D, of course, Manchester United coming up against Watford. Watford in the Championship doing fairly all right now, of course, looking to come back up. You said yourself when the draw was made, fairly happy with it. Still happy with it now?
Yeah, I'm happy with it, of course. It's a home tie. It's against quite a decent Championship side, but to be honest, I'm not going to lie, I wanted one of the big boys. I'm not going to lie, but hopefully we can get through to the next round.
Fingers crossed indeed. And then, of course, Will, you've got two fixtures going on. It is the talk of the chat right now. Aston Villa coming up against Liverpool. We said about it earlier, 7-2 result in the previous game. Liverpool going to be out there looking for a bit of revenge?
I mean, it's a chance to, like you say, that it's the revenge game. It's a chance to, get rid of some of the ghosts of that 7-2 defeat. I mean, it's just can the 19-year-old kids do it? Because that's what I think Klopp's going to do. He's going to rest the majority of the first team and play the young kids, unfortunately.
It'll be a very interesting game indeed. And then, of course, the other fixture that was drawn out was the fixture between Exeter and Sheffield Wednesday. Not the most exquisite of ties in the world, but as you said, surely a fixture you would expect Wednesday to win?
Yeah, it don't work the appetite. It's not like you've drawn a really good team, but it's a chance for Wednesday to, maybe go on a bit of a cup run. It's a chance for them to get a bit of confidence, I guess.
Certainly is indeed. And then, of course, there's one more tie still to very quickly talk about, and that is Everton versus Rotherham, which I somehow quite blatantly called. I think there's a little bit of... It's a rigged draw. Let's say it's a rigged draw. I'm quite happy with that, to be honest. Not going to complain as a Rotherham fan. We're probably going to get spanked off the park. But at least I know we'll be on TV, probably, to watch us get spanked. But, of course, tell us in the chat. Tell us in the chat about your draws. What in terms of the teams that you support, what do you think of the draw? You're happy with it? Are you maybe a little bit frustrated that you didn't get one of the better teams? You'll have to tell us, of course, just in the chat. Kyle's asked, do you think Villa or Liverpool will be the more happier the sides with this draw?
I think Villa.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think Villa will be happy with the tie. as a Liverpool fan, I would have preferred, smaller teams where you can rest the players and get an easy win. But this is a game where you can't rest the players because we've shown that when we played them full strength, we lost 7-2. So who knows anymore?
It'd be a very interesting game indeed. Does anyone think maybe Liverpool will be the happy of the two sides?
In terms of getting revenge, yes. And I also think Liverpool, the second team, could still beat Villa. It's a one game FA Cup.
They faced the second team in the Carabao Cup, didn't they, last year? And that was the team that eventually knocked you out, wasn't it, Will?
Yeah, it's 5-0, I think it was.
Yeah, so they faced the kids once. It'll just be playing them again, probably. So I think, again, it'll still be Villa.
It'll be...
Also, I was in the back of Liverpool head that the 7-2 will always be there. This season, that is, obviously. It'll always be in the back of the heads, regardless.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those where it will always be there in the memory, and I think there'll be a lot of players, whether he does play the first team or not, that will have to go out there and prove themselves. It's a big match for them to get some revenge. It'll be an interesting game indeed. In terms of when these games are played, you'll be able to see on your screen in just a moment the key dates for these matches. Let me just very quickly move myself off the screen. There we go. So the key dates for these fixtures, they're going to be played across the weekend of the Saturday 9th and Sunday 10th of January. Of course, we'll know in the next coming weeks who will be facing who on TV, of course. It'll be a little bit of a while before we know what is going to be TV and what isn't. So once again, just looking across the board, a few all Premier League ties in there. Wolves facing off against Palace. Arsenal facing off against Newcastle. I think that's a fairly interesting draw for Arsenal right now. Of course, we said earlier in the show, we think that Arsenal might have to go on a run here, but Newcastle, certainly no pushovers.
No, it's a tough game for Arsenal.
The way Arsenal are playing, anyone can beat them at this point.
I know Newcastle won the other night, but they weren't exactly at their free-flowing best against Palace. It will be a tough game for them, but I mean, Arsenal are not really kicking any trees up at the moment. So.
Certainly
but
not.
They are FA Cup merchants.
Yeah.
It's very true. It's very true. I'm talking about FA Cup merchants. Manchester City fans, they'll be delighted. A home draw to Birmingham. Obviously, depending on the situation in a few weeks' time, could maybe, I highly doubt it, but we might see some fans back at the Etihad. But a draw against Birmingham, it kind of does linger in the mind, doesn't it? The age-old situation of City get the easy tie. But do you think Birmingham could shock them? Maybe doubtful.
No.
I mean,
No.
Without some positivity, yes.
Not at the Etihad, no.
Would you have said if the draw was the other way around, there was a potential chance? Because we've seen it before with Manchester City, where they have come up against sides away from home, and they've given them a test. And even at home, the Port Vale tie a couple of years ago, there was a very testing game. But of course, Birmingham right now struggling a little bit in the Championship under Aitor Karanka. It's probably going to be a very tricky test for them, which is why I said a very doubtful chance in terms of them going on and doing anything in this competition. I think another team to talk about, not necessarily in the Premier League, but towards the bottom end of the divisions in the top 4 tiers, Newport County. They've got a tie against Brighton. They are cup merchants themselves, to be honest. They love a cup tie. With Brighton struggling right now, do you think maybe we could see another cup run from Newport?
Depends how much Brighton prioritise the FA Cup over the league, because they want to maintain their league status, and at the moment they're just above that sinking ship of 5. But I think Newport are a test for anyone, just because they really do love to score goals. So I think they'll score goals. It just depends how many Brighton will put past them.
It's certainly. Oh, go for it, bro.
The thing is, when you're predicting these FA Cup games with the Premier League sides, like Kieran said, you don't know if these teams are just going to go, we'll play our youngsters and not. Like with the Championship, League 1, League 2, you can more guess that they'll play their full team with maybe 1 or 2 switched out. Whereas the Premier League team will just, because they don't care, because the money is better in the Premier League, they will just switch them out. And unfortunately, I'd like to see more these top sides play their best players, because, well, when are you ever going to see Aguero go up against bloody Stevenage, whatever? You're not. Really, so I'd like to see him do that more, but like you said, teams just probably don't play their full teams, so these lower sides can get through.
It's very true indeed. It's going to be interesting with these FA Cup ties. There's a lot of I wouldn't say there's a lot of interesting games, but there's some potential chances for some of those smaller teams to go through. Maybe in the lower divisions, League Two. We could even see maybe one of the non-league sides potentially get through. Although there are some pretty tricky ties on the table. And then of course tonight there's also one more game still going on in the background. Of course, Canvey Island taking on Boreham Wood. Of course, the winner of that potentially gets to play Millwall. Not the most exquisite tie in the world when you look at Marine, of course, coming up against Tottenham Hotspur. But in terms of those fixtures, and I'll quickly run through them once again in terms of the non-league sides, Chorley are facing off against Derby County, Marine are facing off against Tottenham Hotspur, Stockport are facing off against West Ham, and if I find Canvey Island, of course, Boreham Wood against Millwall, and then I think that is it in terms of the four sides. Who do you think is potentially the most likely of Stockport County, Marine, Chorley, and Canvey Island / Boreham Wood to go through to the next round?
Chorley, maybe? I'm honestly, I have no idea.
Because, I mean, I looked at two ties and I thought Chorley or Stockport, because West Ham seem to have a horrid record coming up against sides away from home in cups.
Yeah, it depends for Derby, because we know Derby in the league this year have been absolutely awful, and they're wallowing towards the bottom of the division. But for some reason, I just feel like they're not going to let that happen to them, and they're not that bad. So it'll be difficult for all teams. Earlier, Josh, you asked us would we see any of them in the fourth round? They all got tough draws. If the lowest team that they got drawn against was Derby County.
Yeah, and it's a shame because, as I said, we were pretty much one ball away from Chorley versus Marine, which would have been a good tie in itself. But Marine won't care about that because they've got an incredible fixture against right now Tottenham Hotspur, which that is going to be an absolutely massive game. And I'm pretty sure that's already been picked for being on TV without hesitation, no doubt. But they are all of the teams drawn out for the FA Cup. I'll very quickly run through them again in 1 minute's time. Some interesting draws for the non-league sides, a few decent little Premier League clashes, and some, of course, all championship affairs as well. But it's a question I like to ask on every single draw at the early stages. Who do you think is going to win the FA Cup? No pressure.
Oh, Jesus.
Man City. It's going to be a Premier League side. Man City.
Yeah. I don't want to go obvious. Everton. I'll stick with what I said. Everton.
Oh, well, they're going to be out when we beat them. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, there you go.
Kieran, Kimmy D, do you think maybe United could go on and win it?
No.
No.
It's so hard to predict already. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to say Chelsea.
Interesting indeed. Will, Liverpool, maybe?
No, I don't think Klopp will take it seriously, unfortunately. I'll just go Man City again because they'll probably get the easiest draws. Might end up facing someone like Derby in quarterfinals.
Potentially indeed. So there we go. That is the FA Cup third round draw done and dusted once again for those of you that are wondering when these fixtures are played. They're across the weekend of the Saturday 9th and Sunday 10th of January. For those of you that are watching on the replay live, do tell us about your draw, what you think about it. Carl's put in the chat, it's going to be a repeat. It's going to be a repeat of the 7-2 defeat against Villa. Everyone sing along. Of course, Kyle hyping up the chat there with that Villa-Liverpool tie. So once again, let's quickly go through the ties for those of you that have just joined and you've missed the draw. So Huddersfield are up against Plymouth Argyle, Southampton, Shrewsbury Town, Chorley up against struggling Derby, Marine with the dream draw against Tottenham Hotspur, Wolves, Palace in an Old Premier League tie, and Stockport County, they're up against West Ham at home. Good tie for them. Oldham facing off against Bournemouth, United facing Watford, Stevenage, Swansea, the Mighty Millers with a tie against Everton, come on Rotherham, and then Forest against Cardiff City, as well as an Old Premier League tie between Arsenal and Newcastle. Barnsley up against Tranmere, Bristol Rovers against Sheffield United at home, Canvey Island or Boreham Wood, which will be facing off in just 5 minutes' time. They're going to get a clash against Millwall, Blackburn against Doncaster Rovers, Stoke v Leicester, and Wickham versus Preston. Crawley Town, they're up against Bielsa's Leeds United, Burnley against MK Dons, Bristol City v Portsmouth, an all-London affair between QPR and Fulham, a repeat of the 7-2 maybe, Villa-Liverpool, and then an all-championship affair between Brentford and Middlesbrough. Manchester City face Birmingham at the Etihad, Luton Town against Reading, Chelsea versus Morecambe, good tie for Morecambe, Exeter City versus Sheffield Wednesday, Norwich City versus Coventry, an old championship affair again, and Blackpool against West Brom. And then the final 2 games, Newport County v Brighton and Cheltenham versus Mansfield. So that is the draw done and dusted for the FA Cup round. Some interesting ties in there, not many massive ties, but there's still some pretty good ties indeed for some of those smaller teams in the competition. Be interested to see how that goes along for them. I seem to have vanished off screen. There we go. In terms of content still to come on the channel, do keep your eyes out as always, because the 1st of December, that is tomorrow, we're back with the Champions League goal show live from 7:45 with Group A to D, and then on Wednesday we've got Groups E to H. That's from 7:45 as well. We've got 2 more weeks of group stage action in the Champions League before the round of 16 draw, and then it's a weekend of action in terms of watch-alongs. La Liga watch-along on Saturday from 3 o'clock, Sevilla versus Real Madrid, and then straight afterwards, Kieran Allen Rowan will be live with Bayern Munich versus Leipzig. That's from 5:15. And then Sunday, it is a mammoth fixture in the Premier League as Tottenham face Arsenal live from 4:15. That is going to be a massive fixture in the Premier League. But as for now, thank you very much, boys, for joining us. Very greatly appreciated, as always. Thank you very much to Will, Kieran D, Kieran L, and Rowan. Greatly appreciated.
Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you very much. As for now, for those of you that are just popping in stream and you want to see who's in the draw, I will leave the draw going on in the background for a few more minutes. But I hope you have a fantastic rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And we hope to see you again soon. Good night.